What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today, what's up guys, Kyle here again, and today, it's time to go over your guys' comments. Hope that you guys are having a fantastic week and that you have an awesome weekend plan. Real quick before we jump into these comments, just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder. I just finished shooting yet another video for my drum channel that I opened up about a week and a half ago. So if you're into hardcore and metal drumming, as well as gear deals and drum restoration, go ahead over and check out that channel. I will put a link down in the description. And I will also put a card up here on the screen for you guys to check out the latest video. It would mean a lot to me, but again, that's only if you're into the drum stuff. If you're only into the guitar stuff, I'm not going anywhere, baby. This channel is going to stay exactly the way it is. So with that being said, let's jump into your guys' comments. Patrick Bradburn says, exactly the type of content that I like. I'm always wondering about the budget cabs that appear in the Guitar Center used section. Thanks. Thanks for the comment, Patrick, and he is referring to the video that I released yesterday on the Mystery Carvin 212. I bought that cab sight unseen from Guitar Center's used site for 149 bucks. I figured it was cheap. I would take a chance on it. If it was complete garbage, I could just return it to Guitar Center locally here. But yeah, I love cabs. If you guys haven't noticed, I really love guitar cabs, and I think that one of the things that intrigues me the most on the Gear Chase is finding obscure guitar cabs that just sound awesome and maybe sound a little bit different, you know? I love the V30 thing, especially the Mesa with V30s. That's pretty much always gonna be my go-to. But I love finding cabs that are a little bit obscure that people don't really know about. Number one, because the price is usually really low on them. I've gotten a crazy deal on a few cabs in the past where nobody knew what they were and I ended up making out like a friggin' bandit. Other than the Carvin cab that I grabbed, and you guys should check that video out if you're interested in low-cost cabs that are built extremely well and sound really good. But I grabbed from the early 80s an Ampeg SS412 cab. That cab came loaded with G12-65 speakers, which if you guys know anything about that, the early 80s G12-65s are very highly sought after, especially by Marshall guys who are looking for a higher powered greenback type sound, because that's basically what that G12-65 was meant to be. It was Celestion's take in the early 80s on a higher powered greenback. And while I don't know that they sound like a higher powered greenback, they sound really, really good. And I ended up getting that cab for free because I bought it with a Crate Blue Voodoo for 300 bucks and I sold the Crate Blue Voodoo for 300 bucks. So I ended up with a free cab and about $500 worth of very sought after speakers. And that's just because I took a chance knowing that I could sell the head for what I paid for the entire half stack. And hopefully the cab would turn out to be something cool. And guess what? It turned out to be something cool. On top of that, the cab is front loaded. It's made of all birch plywood. So I mean, I did not lose on that one. I absolutely made out, and I have bought a couple random cabs today. I literally forgot already. Today, I bought an unlabeled Randall cab from Guitar Center's website for 149 bucks. From everything that I could see in the pictures that they provided, it looked like an XL 412 cab, so I went ahead and purchased it. There was no badges. The person who owned it before pulled off the serial tag, pulled off all the labels and stuff like that, so I couldn't tell what it was. I got it. Guess what? It's a Randall 412 XL cab with V30s and G12T75s and an X pattern. So I landed that after shipping for like $193. So take chances, guys, especially if you have a Guitar Center close to you. It's kind of a pain to return it. I understand that. It's kind of a pain to deal with all the packaging and stuff, but I mean, it literally, Guitar Center charges you $30 to ship a cab. So I will always take my chances on a cab, especially if it's something that's supposed to have good speakers in it, because if it doesn't have good speakers in it and it doesn't say it in the description on the website, I will return it to my local Guitar Center and say, hey, this cab is supposed to come with vintage 30s. Somebody swapped it out with cheap speakers, and I get all my money back. So again, it is worth taking a shot on this stuff because you really have nothing to lose in most instances. And on top of all that, if you guys want to see more videos like I did with that Carvin cab, where I kind of take obscure cabs that people don't know what they sound like, people don't know how they're constructed, there's not a lot of information out there on the internet about those cabs, I would love to do that, because that is one thing. When I was looking for YouTube videos way back when I started getting into gear, there were so many cabs. The Peavey Butcher cab is a perfect example where people would talk about it online, but there was no demos of it. I had no idea what the cab sounded like. I had no idea how well it was built. I just had to go off what people were saying. So if I make actual videos about these cabs, hopefully you guys can use them as a reference point if you're looking for a low-cost cab that's kind of obscure in the future. You guys will actually have something to figure out how it sounds with common amplifiers and if it's worth the money that you're looking at paying for. So let me know down in the comments, please, if you guys want to see more obscure guitar cab videos or obscure gear videos in general, because I'm always trying to cover stuff that there isn't a lot of coverage on. John Winter commented on my 65052 playthrough video and said, "This amp sounds phenomenal and I'm sure it is a high quality build with quality parts. Although I can't get past the point that they are made in China now. How can we be assured that the quality and control is to a high standard? Question mark." I don't know why I said the question mark bit. I'm too used to doing talk to text. Anyways, John, thanks for the comment. This is something that I have been seeing so much of lately, and it is honestly driving me absolutely insane, guys. So I'm gonna skip the political part of this whole conversation and go straight to the quality portion of it. And I know some of you guys are gonna give me thumbs down because you can't think outside of the box, you can't think outside of your preconceived notions of anything, and that's really unfortunate. And here's what I'm gonna say on that matter. Something that is made right here in the United States can be a total piece of garbage. Something that is made in China can be an absolutely excellent piece of gear, and it 100% comes down to the company who is making it, the amount of money that they have invested in the production of that product, which not only includes the parts, but it includes the labor. Just like here in the United States, you can pay more experienced people with a higher skill set more money because you know that they will create a higher quality product. And on the flip side, you can pay unskilled labor less money, and there's a chance that they can still make the product just fine, but they're not gonna be an expert in their field. They're not going to have prior knowledge and prior experience building whatever it is that you're hiring them to build. And in labor terms, you kind of get what you pay for. When you pay people less, you usually get a lower caliber of employee. When you pay people more people are fighting for that job. You have the opportunity to vet those people. And if it's a competitive job offering, then you basically get to choose whoever you feel is absolutely best for that position. So with that being said, why I am telling you this is because a lot of people automatically think that if something is made in China, it's gonna be garbage. That is not true. And while yes, I would love to have everything made here in the United States again, guys, trust me, I would love to have all the manufacturing come back overseas, come out of Mexico, and have everything be made here, right here in the United States. That would be fantastic. That would be a dream come true. But here's the thing. That is literally a dream, guys, because it's not gonna happen. That's not the way of the world, unfortunately. Some things are coming back to being made in America, and those are usually like boutique, high-end things. And that doesn't just apply to amplifiers. That kind of applies to all sorts of little niche markets where boutique builders and suppliers and creators are making high-end, high-quality products for the people who are after high-end, high-quality products in that market. But for everything else, it's probably gonna be made overseas just because it is cheaper to make things overseas. And we as the consumer have voted with our dollar and told all these companies that we want it to be as cheap as possible. And when you want something as cheap as possible, that means that they have to drive the cost down, they have to cut corners somewhere, and they do that in parts and labor. So with that being said, Peavey, you guys know that I absolutely love Peavey. I absolutely love Peavey's old gear. I love their new gear. I am just a huge Peavey fan in general. But here's the thing, guys. Peavey was never a top quality, top of the market style brand. They were always a budget brand. They were always sort of an entry level brand into the tube market. Back in the 80s when they were creating tube amps, I mean, those amps were completely shunned by most professional musicians. Nobody was really using Peavey stuff save for a couple artists here and there. And that's because they were considered like a budget brand. They were not considered a high quality brand like a Marshall or a Mesa Boogie. And really they have carried that stigma with them for a long time. And even though the 5150 really put them on the map and became a staple in the metal and hardcore community as one of the best amps that you can get regardless of price range, that doesn't negate the fact that it was still made cheaply and it was made with cheap parts. Now, I'm not saying that that makes it a bad amp. I'm saying in the context of all the amps that it was competing with, it was made with lower cost production methods and lower cost parts. So when people complain about Peavey's going over to China and the quality dipping and everything else, but if you guys haven't noticed, I mean, their prices have stayed about where they have been on their flagship amps for the past 30 years. That's insane. And even though they moved production over to China, They kept those prices the same on the 5150 and 5152. Those went up a little bit, and then into the 6505, they kept them within like a $200 range, which is nuts considering how long they stayed at those prices. And when they shipped the production over to China, they bumped those prices back down. So they did pass on whatever they were saving in the labor by moving everything to China onto the consumers. So all that being said, I'm getting into a very long-winded message here. Basically what I'm saying, guys, is made in China does not necessarily equal a bad product. It depends on the company, how much they have invested into the quality of the components of whatever it is that they're manufacturing, and how much they have invested in the labor and the quality control of whatever manufacturing facility that they're having things built in. It is not as simple as made in China bad, made in USA good, made in Mexico okay. It's got a lot more to do with that, and you guys really need to open your eyes and open your mind to that. Peavey is not going to make their flagship amps in the USA again, because if they did, the prices would double, and then you guys would complain even more about buying a $2,500 Peavey when the prices used to be $1,300. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. The G Green 100 says, honestly can't believe how good that amp sounds, especially for what it is and its price point. This person is referring to my Peavey Classic 20 updated mini head video that I released earlier this week. And yeah, a lot of people don't know how good that the Classic series really is. Now, people who have been around for 15, 20 years in gear, the Classic is kind of one of those classic workhorses, for lack of a better word. It's one of those amps that you're just gonna buy. You know that the tones that you're gonna get out of it are gonna be solid, and the amp is just not gonna break down on you, because that's basically what Peavey was known for in the 80s and 90s, as making solid workhorse amps. And much like the 5150 and the Ultra line, the Classic series is no exception. The Classic series is another brainchild of Mr. James Brown. So no surprise that isn't an excellent sounding and functioning amp. But yeah, I've been meaning to do a video on the Classic stuff for a while, because the Classic is just slept on as far as even the metal tones go. I think it does awesome thrash metal tones all day long. I would be happy with plugging that head into a cab and recording with that thing. As you guys heard in that review video, it is absolutely capable of some awesome like 80s and 90s thrash metal tones, and I would not be shy about using that amp for those tones whatsoever. So when John at Peavey reached out and asked me if I wanted to check one out for the channel, I said hell yes, because I think that the Classic series needs a little bit of a popularity refresh, because they are such good amps, and I see them going like on Guitar Center's used site all the time. The 50 watt 212 Classic combo from Peavey goes for $350 to $400 used on Guitar Center's website all day long. Pretty much anytime that you look on there, you can find 1, 2, 3 of those Classic combos. If not those, then the Delta Blues combos on that site, ready to be purchased for a low price and ready to do some friggin' work as far as getting awesome clean tones, awesome edge of breakup tones, and even awesome thrash metal tones. So thanks again to John for sending that amp out to me. I really enjoyed it. I think they did a great update to the Classic 20 mini head, and if it's something that you guys are interested in, you guys should stop sleeping and pull the trigger on that amp, because it is a lot of fun. Perich, I don't know, something foreign, says the first riffs was Leeway from Born to Expire, 1988. You are correct, sir. The song title is Rise and Fall, and Leeway Born to Expire is one of my favorite albums of all time. I know we don't really talk about musical influences that much here on the channel, but I've really lately, I don't listen to music all that much, but I've kind of been getting back into my musical roots, listening to a lot of Leeway and a lot of Biohazard. If you guys like Biohazard, I've really been digging them lately. The band that I'm in, Human Animal, that song, the name of the band is literally from a Biohazard song title, so those guys are all way bigger Biohazard fans than I am. But yeah, all that old New York hardcore stuff, Cro-Mags I love, Madball I love, some Agnostic Front I like, some of it is a little bit rough. But when you really get into the early 90s stuff like Marauder, and then the Troy, New York stuff like Stigmata and All Out War, when you start getting that metallic hardcore influence, I love all that stuff. So a lot of the riffs that you guys hear me playing, if it's not Buried Alive or Terror influenced, and it's not Slayer or Exodus influenced, it's definitely gonna be New York hardcore influenced all the way. So if you guys are unfamiliar with that stuff, I urge you to check it out. Leeway Born to Expire is an awesome thrash metal crossover style hardcore album from 1988. And then you talk about Biohazard. Then you have to check out the album Urban Discipline. Some other bands that I love from that era are Life of Agony. You have to check out River Runs Red if you dig Life of Agony. Life of Agony was kind of a meshing of like the New York hardcore scene and the grunge movement. It's a really, that first album is just such an incredible mix of two different genres, and they sound so good. The songs are really catchy, really dark and depressing, but such a fantastic band. Master Killer by Marauder is an absolute masterpiece hardcore album. Hymns from an Unknown God is one of my favorite hardcore releases ever by Stigmata. That's just an EP, but it is totally worth checking out. And then All Out War for Those Who Are Crucified is literally like if you took Slayer and meshed them with an early 90s hardcore band, you get All Out War. So I urge you guys, if you're not into the hardcore scene at all, check those bands out. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you are into those bands, let me know your favorite songs off those albums, or if you have another album that you like better than the ones I mentioned, leave it down below in the comments, because I'm really curious to see the demographic of my viewers. How many of you guys are actually old school hardcore dudes? That would be really cool to get some engagement on that topic, because that is where my heart lies. So with that being said, that is gonna do it for me this week, guys. For next week, or for the next 2 weeks, comment on my videos and leave witty, stupid comments. Make fun of me, it's pretty easy to do. Do whatever, just engage the channel in the comments, and if I see something that sticks out to me, then I will put it on the next episode of Viewers Comments. If you want to support this channel and what it is that I do here in this room, whether it be drums or guitar, down in the description of this video are all my support links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link. Click that link, get yourself something nice from the fine folks at Sweetwater. I get a little kickback, costs you nothing extra, and it greatly helps my channels grow. Or you could consider becoming one of these fantastic people by joining my Patreon community and supporting the channel that way, and I'll love you forever. And finally, consider becoming a member of the Belligerent Amateur community by joining my Facebook group and my Discord server, all down below in the description of this video. Subscribe to my drum channel if you haven't already. Kyle here again. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.